Welcome to episode 83 of the Concealed Taco Dudes podcast.
Woo-hoo. 83. Wow.
83.
Such enthusiasm.
Yeah, so today we have me, Taco.
Jason with Concealment Solutions.
And Mag Older Mark and a
new special
person.
Guest.
Yeah.
Lee, introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, my name's Lee. I'm Lee Lanford, Heart of Texas Metalworks in Austin, Texas.
Wow.
Nice.
Austin. It's like an island in the middle of Texas, isn't it?
It's a big blue liberal island, yes.
Tell us real quick what Heart of Texas Metalwork does. What are you guys producing over there?
Well, I started the company close to 20 years ago, and we do architectural fabrications, blacksmith work, water jet cutting. Within the last year and a half or so, started making a lot of EDC products, primarily knuckle dusters and things like that.
Yeah. Super cool stuff. What if people want to see what you're doing? Where's the best place for them to see your stuff?
Best place is go to my Instagram account. It's hot_metalworks.
Okay. You guys have a website or anything?
I do. Yeah.
Webs.
Yeah, I do have a website. It's hotmetalworks.com.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it is being rebuilt right now, so it's currently down. I need to get that resolved here real quickly.
Okay.
Do you have a YouTube channel or anything where you show all the cool metal jet? Water jet
I
cutting?
really don't. Most of that stuff is on Instagram. Just that seems to be the format that seems to work the best for me currently. In fact, a lot of times I forget to even take pictures of stuff, which is unfortunate. And I know a lot more people are interested. I just, I'm a little late coming to the social media stuff and trying to navigate it accordingly.
Well,
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that you do from a technology standpoint is pretty advanced. I mean, I know, for instance, the water jet cutting is way cool. You can cut through like everything from, super thin plastics all the way up to like railroad cars. It's amazing.
Yeah. We recently had a job where we had to cut 6-inch thick titanium plate. That was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much water and grit and pressure did that take?
Well, so my machine runs at pretty much a nominal pressure of 60,000 PSI.
So you're talking about chamber pressure for a really hot cartridge.
Correct. and then we're throwing an 80 grain slug at it, basically. Yeah, so it runs garnet and it runs about a gallon a minute at 60,000 PSI, and it runs about a pound of garnet a minute through it.
And
Wow.
do you guys recapture that and recirculate it, or does it get pulverized and wiped out?
The garnet once it's been used is considered spent at that grit size. It can be reclaimed and recycled, but it's to a finer grit at that point, which people do use.
As a person who's not an engineer, that is just the coolest stuff I've ever heard
Well,
of.
so I've actually, on the scale that we do things, the recycling of the garnet is not necessarily economical on my end. So what I've started doing it now is building my backstops on my little own firing range behind the shop.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That works. Well, cool. Let's jump into our sponsors real quick. We're going to knock these out so we can get to our prize giveaways and our topic. Let's hit NOE bullet molds first. Anything new down there, Taco?
Al is hammered with trying to keep up with all the crazy demand out there. So
Shocking.
Everything reloading and now casting is like just sold out. Even at all the local shops, like they don't have any reloading presses in stock. All that stuff is sold out. So Al is doing his hardest to keep up with all the crazy, like the increase in demand of the order. So he is running behind shipping. I think I talked to him a couple days ago and he says they're running behind about 4, 5, 6 days. So
yeah, I think people need to understand, and I think most do, if you're ordering anything that has to do with the gun industry, you just need to be patient. Yeah. Everybody's working their butts off right now to try and take care of demand, and some stuff's coming faster than others, but just be patient and give these guys a break.
Well, true, but most of the sponsors for this podcast anyway, are actually doing better than average in the industry. I'm sure that if you order something for Lyman, it's probably not going to get to you as quick as something from Al.
Well, Mark, to back you up on that, I bought a Mark 7 press here. I ordered it back in September, and it's it's a Lyman product, and I just received it about 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Got it. Yeah.
And I still don't have all the dies I ordered.
Wow. Yeah. That's just the nature of where we're at right now, and it'll get better. But we just got to be patient and be happy with what we can get when we can get it.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I mean, we could talk about it with what we did with guns, but I did put to good use multiple of his molds today. So
nice. What's the discount code at NOE?
So coupon code FLT001 will save you 10% on your order.
And that's at noebulletmolds.com. How about Utah Air Guns? UtahAirguns.com. You know what? I'm going to combine our next two sponsors, Utah Air Guns and Black Ice Coatings. I took my brand new Dreamline Tactical air gun that I got from Utah Air Guns last week, and I took it down to Black Ice Coatings, and he just did a custom multicam black dip on it. But not just a multicam black dip, but the end of the bottle, the bottom of it that faces forward, he did in my logo, but it's still the multicam black camo. So it's kind of the squiggly outline of my logo on the end of the bottle, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
So there's pictures of that. There's pictures of that on my Instagram if you want to see that. So Utah Air Guns, they've got lots of inventory. Now there is stuff that's a little harder to get right now, but that's just normal, I think. But if you're struggling to keep shooting, you're not getting the same trigger time that you're used to because of shortages of ammo and components and stuff like that, air gun is the perfect opportunity to keep up on that trigger time and not be spending a crap ton of money on ammo. Mm-hmm. So check out Utah Air Guns, UtahAirguns.com. Use the code AirCandy for free shipping and scope turret stickers. Turret stickers, yeah. Black Ice Coatings, check them out at blackicecoatings.com. They're all everybody we're talking about is on Instagram and probably Facebook and stuff like that, so you can follow them there. Mark, what's going on at Magholder?
We had an order for some distributors recently, and I just wanted to mention that we really like our distribution partners. One of the things I'm going to ask that the listeners do this week is order some mag holders from Jason, because I also picked up 3 holsters from Jason this week, so I owe him some money. And if you guys order your mag holders this week from Jason, maybe I could be square with Jason.
Mark and I have this. It's kind of a feud, I think. I get mag holders from him. What do I owe you, Mark? Oh, don't worry about it. It's like, no, I got to pay for these. And then I bring holsters to him. What do I owe you? Oh, we're good, Mark. Don't sweat it. No, really, I got it. So we end up trading out product and stuff like that. So it all works out good.
Well, I do have one announcement. That is, there's people been waiting for like 9 years for a 45 caliber and 10 millimeter double stack mag holder.
Are they coming?
We are underway on the design stuff.
Sweet.
And it basically all it is to scale the existing product, because the new product is working so well. We're going to just go for it.
Awesome.
So I'm thinking summer.
Cool. That is exciting news. People have been waiting a very long time.
Long time for that. Since the Obama administration. So, in the meantime, please go ahead and use the discount code. Get in the van. I have candy.
All right.
Now, last week we talked about introducing a new discount or an additional discount code. Did you do that?
We did, and nobody's used it yet. And,
you guys, come on!
Yeah, mag holder mama. Mag holder, no space, MAMA. Please use it because it comes with swag in addition to a hefty discount.
And Mrs. Magholder won't know what's going on because currently I'm the only one that calls her Magholder Mama.
Yep.
So when she starts seeing orders coming in with that code on there, it's going to be hilarious.
It'll be totally worth it, guys.
Awesome. Last one, Concealment Solutions, concealmentsolutions.com. If you haven't been on the website recently, go check it out and cruise around and see what's out there. Yesterday, I was talking to somebody on the phone and he was saying, this is what I want and what do you recommend? And I said, oh, you should get this holster. I couldn't remember some of my product descriptions and I couldn't remember my own pricing on stuff. I'm like, dude, there's so much stuff on there. I said, just get on there and look at it. And if you have questions, let me know. I probably need to pare it down a little bit. I maybe have reached a point where I have so many options that it's making it difficult for people to make a decision. So maybe there's something I can do with that. But I have tried to make myself a one-stop holster shop. So and when you get on there, make sure you look at the holster upgrades page. There are tons of different Kydex patterns and colors and different things that you can do to really customize it and make it unique.
Jason, I'll give you some kudos. The rig that I bought from you, I was really impressed with. But one of the other things that impressed me compared to a lot of other holster makers now is the availability of different models for different models of firearms that you do have. A lot of folks have pared back to real basic stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm appreciative of the fact that you still have a catalog available.
Yeah, it's true. And I appreciate that. When I started this business, I came to it with the approach of, if I were the customer, what would I want to see? What would I want? And I don't like off the shelf. I don't like the same thing everyone else has. And so there's a lot of companies out there that advertise custom this and that. And then you say, okay, great. I've got this laser, I've got this light, or I've got this red dot on my gun. Oh, we can't do that. Well, you're not very custom then, are you? And then in addition to that, all the colors and, it drives me nuts. It seems like so many of the holster manufacturers are just producing black boxes that gun goes in or your mag carry goes in. I hate that. And so even ask Taco, when you order like a drop leg, like you got, Lee, and you get an option to pick a color or pattern for the outside and a different one for the inside. And I get guys that order black on black.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
I mean, that was the trick thing. I got the multicam outer, and then I was like, man, that blood red on the inside will just be kind of wicked.
Yeah.
And it does. It looks awesome. And I've had folks look like, where the hell did you get that? So I've definitely been spreading your name out there.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, and here's the other thing. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you saw this post. But when I say that I do custom stuff, and Concealment Solutions, provide solutions. We finished up the wheelchair rig, and it turned out freaking awesome. In fact, he came
really
down.
Amazing.
We hooked it up. Yeah, you got to see it at the shop just before you left, Mark. That night, he went and shot a match at Discount down in Springville.
Cool.
And I got a little video of it. I should post that. But he said, had a great time. It worked really good. Turned a lot of heads. I think we did the
was this the 5.7 or was it something else?
No, I haven't. He ordered a 5.7 rig for his chair after he picked that one up. So I haven't even built that one yet. He told me he'd take a month to do it because he spent all his money already. But we did it in the Cryptek Raid with that blaze orange on the inside. It looks super awesome. So this customer in the chair, he is paralyzed from the chest down, and he did encounter an issue at the match so he has no abdominal control. So when he draws and extends out, he starts to fall forward, and he can't control it without putting his arm on his leg and setting himself back up. And so we were talking a little bit about that over text. And I'm like, Bobby, I got a solution for you. Let me know when you want to do it. I was like, we're going to hook up some big fat suspenders to your chair and put them over your shoulders, and that'll keep you being able to move, and you'll still be able to to shoot, and you won't be falling forward. So
I was trying to make sure Jason didn't offend him with some of his answers, because I was thinking what he needs to do is shoot a heavier load and just use the recoil.
Yeah, a 45-70 pistol.
Yeah, there you go. The BFR. I'll keep him.
He'd end up at the back of the range.
50 Beowulf or something.
Anyway, he's such a cool guy too.
He is. He's really a cool guy, and it was really a pleasure to work with him. And I'm excited that it is working out, and he's happy. So I've gone on too long. Discount code is Show Me the Candy, and that'll save you some money at checkout at concealmentsolutions.com. Okay.
Let's do what we did with guns.
We never do that fast, even though we say we're going to.
Well, I'll start then.
Okay. What did you do with guns, Mark?
I got holsters for 3 guns.
Woohoo!
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, one of them is for a guy across the street that bought a gun of mine, and he put a rail on it, a bolt-on rail on his G43X, and also on that he put an O-light. And Jason happened to have all that stuff in the shop in order to make the holster. So that was
well,
cool.
I didn't have the add-on rail. That was the only thing I didn't have.
Okay.
But yeah, we still got them taken care of.
Then I got a Glock 43 MOS, and that has a rail and the thing for this, for a red dot or whatever. And then finally, my Kimber, the one that spawned the discussion with my wife on the podcast about, I had a sort of a come to Jesus meeting, Lee, with my wife on the air about all the guns she didn't know about. It was a big deal. But anyway, that Kimber K6 DASA. So I've got a what are you calling it? It's not the Cobra anymore. It's what?
Yeah, it's a Cobra.
Cobra. Okay, great.
Yeah,
so that's all I did this week.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, Lee, what did you do?
Okay.
What did I do this week with guns? Well, I did place a big order for a bunch of new magazines the other day, so hopefully it'll be showing up Monday. I ordered a bunch more magazines for my Scar 17, and then a couple more for my 5.7 pistol. Cool. And then really, I've just about, I think I've got all my rigs just about set up the way I want. But, I'm always looking for other things too. So I may be looking at a new Staccato P carry pistol before too long. So we'll see about that.
Nice.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. Cool.
So did you fire any guns this week? Because I haven't really been able to much.
Yesterday was the first day that I've actually been able to get out of the house with the roads and everything. So no, this past week I haven't done squat except, and really just a day before that is when we got power back on. So I hadn't even been able to, spend money on the internet buying stuff, that I can't use. So, I haven't shot anything in the past week. So I'm starting to get itchy trigger finger, so to speak.
Nice. Nice.
Jason.
So I got a new stock for that Swedish Mauser that I picked up from you, Taco.
Oh yeah.
And I want to go ahead.
It like a military stock?
Yeah, it's an old stock. Yeah. Like it probably came off a gun that the barrel was toast or the action was ruined or whatever, and so they just parted it out. And
is it in pretty good condition? I love the old wood stocks.
It's really nasty, dirty, but it doesn't have a whole lot of dings and stuff like that. In the description it said it did not include the medallion, the little medallion in the side of the stock, but it had it when it showed up.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's really dirty and gross and greasy. And so I texted Gene. I said, "Hey, Gene, I just got this stock." I said, "What do I need to do to clean it up?" "Spray it down with oven cleaner."
Yep.
I'm like, really?
Yep.
So here's my question, and I'm going to throw this out to the listeners. I would be really interested in people's opinions as well as your guys here. I'm kind of thinking about just totally stripping it, sanding it down, and then refinishing it and making it look a little bit nicer, because none of the serial numbers match. It's a shooter, but it's not anything that's ever going to be worth a whole lot. Lee's frantically shaking his head.
No. I'm of the opinion. of let it. If it's a used stock, especially in that situation. Let it be true to itself. Clean it up. Some 4/0 steel wool and some tung oil, and just let it be. And man, you'll appreciate it, I think, more over time.
Okay, and I'm kind of in that same ballpark with stuff. I kind of I like the aged look and everything, and it's old.
Right.
When I was at Black Ice, Lee showed me an SKS that he'd Tefloned, so the whole action, everything was Teflon coated and beautiful, and a Mauser stock in there from a friend of his that just refinished it, that he was going to put a clear on it. It looked really nice. And that kind of got me thinking, oh, maybe that would be fun to do. I'm not going to hurt the value of it either way I go, because it's not really there, depending on, if I ever even sell it anyway. What's your opinion, Taco?
My 2 cents.
You told me don't do anything with it. Don't even put a new stock on it originally.
Well, because you wanted a cheap shooter that was a military surplus rifle.
Right.
And so
it still is.
It was really cheap without the new stock. But if you're restoring it to the, original military configuration, then, then that's probably the look that you're wanting to have.
Yeah.
But in the end, I would say do what makes you happy, but just don't make it shiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't put one of those like high gloss.
No, I'm not a high
type,
gloss.
Finishes on it, because it'll look goofy.
Yeah.
And you won't like it.
Well, and especially if I leave the metal in the condition that it's in, where it's clearly been used a lot, it would just be a weird contrast so that's kind of the direction I'm leaning, but I just wanted opinions on what people thought, because it would be kind of cool to make everything look more or less new.
I'm in favor of cleaning the stock, but don't refinish it.
Oh, it's got to be clean, man. I can't touch it without getting stuff on me.
Yeah. but if you do like a tung oil type thing, that it'll look good.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
So.
Cool. What else did I do? I don't know. I still haven't shot that Dreamline. I just barely put the scope back on it today. It hasn't. I got to zero it and do all that still.
That's the most fun, is doing that to me.
Yeah. See, I don't find any joy in zeroing guns.
Oh, I love taking my time to do that.
I like, especially with my air guns, going down and Justin goes, "Here you go, it's zeroed in," and it's like hitting 1/4-inch steel plates at 30 yards.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Okay, Taco.
Okay, so I've been a busy guy this week. I have been working on, my New Year's resolution, the gun resolution of teaching
people how to cast
and reload.
Or reload.
And so I might have finished that goal already.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I haven't even come over yet.
I know. I've actually been keeping track, just writing the names down next to my goal, just to,
Oh, whatever. You have a spreadsheet. You know it.
No, not for that. But anyways, I was going to say, I ended up last Saturday, I went and had some guys, or I didn't go, they came here and they came over and we had like a casting party and stuff. A bunch of guys came over and I was teaching them how to cast and do the powder coating and sizing. And then we came in and I was helping them do some reloading. So this morning I actually had Noah help me do some casting, which was awesome. That was the first time ever. He's been wanting to learn how to do some casting for the longest time. And I just kind of put it off, but had him come over and I think 3 other guys. So we ended up casting. The two of the guys left pretty early, but one other guy and I stayed at it for quite a while, and we ended up casting 62 pounds of bullets.
Wow.
So yeah, we ended up doing the little, the infamous little 135 grain NOE 30 cal, that, the bunny fart bullet. And that's in anticipation for like a church youth group shooting activity that we're planning. So, and then we did some of the taco bullet, the 225 grain 30 cals. And I'm going to load some of those in a crag for one of the guys.
Oh, nice.
and also the 300 Blackout subsonics. And then we did some 9 mils, some 133 grain 9 mils. And that's one of my favorite little Plinken bullets. But all of those were made from, it's kind of funny. I guess all those were made from molds that I either designed or had a hand in helping design.
Cool.
So it's kind of fun to shoot bullets that that you made out of a mold that you designed. Yeah.
That is cool.
It's cool. And actually having them work good. It's great. Now I did score something that's worth more than gold to me. I got one of these.
Nice.
What?
It is the CCI small rifle Magnum primers. I was over at Gunny's and I was looking at anniversary guns,
Oh yeah.
And I did find something that might work. It was a pair of identical Smith & Wesson 7-shot 686s. And they had wood grips and a nice long, I don't know, maybe 6-inch barrel or something. But I like those.
Consecutive.
I don't care about the serial numbers and that kind of stuff. But it had a nice little area on it that I think I could get it engraved. And, the price wasn't horrible. So I don't know. I'm going to go back.
They were 357?
Yeah, 357 Magnums.
Okay.
So they look pretty good. And 357, that's something my wife and I could both enjoy. And stuff. So
I'm a little disappointed that you have turned your back on the 1911 and Thompson combo.
Oh my goodness, those are hard to find right now. The Tommy guns, man.
Yeah,
you used to be able to see them all the time.
Yeah,
at the local shops.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen one in a while, and I looked online, and they are not cheap.
Nothing's cheap. Nothing's cheap.
Yeah.
Yep.
I picked up another lower parts kit for the AR-15, and I threw together an AR-15 pistol in 5.56, 11.5-inch barrel.
Just from parts you picked up off the floor in your shop?
Ish. Yeah, I picked up a part here and there, and found some good deals online, and got an upper for I think it was $50 or something.
Wow.
So
cool.
Yeah, and so I picked up a lower parts kit at Gunny's, and it was Gunny's was a pretty cheap day because I got the pack of primers and the lower parts kit. I didn't walk out with the 2 Smith & Wesson revolvers. I wanted to think about that one.
Are you willing to tell us how much the primers were?
Oh, so they, they're not cheap, but they're a lot cheaper than what you find on the classified ads. So I think I paid about $47. So
that's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
Well, yeah, I can't find them. Well, if you can find them, they're not that cheap. So
what is an example of a small rifle Magnum cartridge that you would use that in?
So I have that 22 Creedmoor that I have some Lapua 6mm Creedmoor brass that I'm converting to 22 Creedmoor. And that uses the small rifle primers, and then use the Magnum because it's to ignite all that
big
powder.
Gigantic case.
Yeah. And I've got some, you can use the Magnums in some of the other cartridges like the 277 Wolverine where you're using ball powder and stuff, but I'm saving this stuff specifically and I might use it in my 6 arc depending on what kind of powder I'm using.
Is this going to be for the Taco Teeny?
No, the Taco Teeny is going to use 308 brass, and I've got a decent amount of large rifle primers, and if I was going to do a lighter load in the Taco Teeny, then that would probably be something I could get by using a large pistol primer, but I'd have to keep the pressures, lower and
way down. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, Taco, I'll tell you a little horror story I saw on a local auction recently. I saw somebody buy 100 small pistol primers for $25.
Wow.
Oh, geez.
So if you're paying 25 cents a primer, you ain't saving any money.
No.
Yeah, but if you cannot buy ammo,
true,
and then that 25-cent primer, if you cast your own bullets or something, you can still
it's still coming in. Where you're seeing 9mm ammo coming in at close to $1 a round some places.
Yeah,
right.
That's
I guess
definitely not ideal, but that's kind of That's
crazy.
I can understand why some people would do that if they actually need it, but
I don't know.
But I talked with Wyatt at Gunny's. He's the manager there, and I was just asking him. I said, "What are things looking like? Are you guys?" He said that he's been trying hard through all these different avenues to try and get reloading supplies, ammo, and everything, and it's tough. He said that CCI sent him kind of like a pity shipment, and this was one of the boxes of primers in that shipment. He said it wasn't much at all, but at least it was something.
So here's my question, and no one's been able to give me an answer, obviously, but CCI, Federal, all these folks, I mean, they're cranking this stuff out. Where is it going?
Goes to the ammo manufacturers first.
Yeah.
Like the primers and stuff. It would only make sense to, those are your biggest customers.
That's your primers. Yeah, for sure.
And you got your own ammo.
Yeah, exactly. You have your own.
Yeah, your own ammo lines, Federal and stuff. And so you might.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense. Spear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to your own.
And nobody's getting what they want. Nobody's, we're not getting enough ammo. We're not getting enough components either. And I think people are just in panic buy mode still.
Yeah.
I wonder when it's going to come down to shotguns too.
Well, shotguns, pump shotguns, they were like impossible to find.
Well, and shotgun ammo for the most part has been tough to find too, from what I've
maybe
been
I've
seeing.
just been looking. Maybe I've been looking at game loads that are not suitable at all or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna say game loads here are still pretty plentiful now, as far as what you call the defensive round. I have not seen that.
Yeah.
But a number 8 burst shot will still do a lot of damage if it needed to.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. Well, should we move on?
Yes. Let's do our listener feedback real fast.
Okay. I was going to say, do we want to push that off to next week so we can get to our giveaways?
I'll do the listener feedback really fast. Okay.
I don't think we know what that means, but go ahead.
All right. So Jerry1911, he wrote a comment and, gave us a hard time about being a firearms podcast and not mentioning the Utah law that just passed allowing constitutional carry.
Oh, yeah.
That I told him, I said we talked about it. We must have talked about it right before we started recording or right after. But I don't
really?
Think I think we skipped it in the podcast.
Because it seems like the last 2 podcasts we talked about it being on the table, and
but it
was going to pass and stuff like that.
I think it passed that same day we recorded. So, anyways, so that did pass.
Jerry, give us a break.
From those of us in Texas who watch this stuff, congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
We're pushing for it here too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're pushing for it, and it's supposed to come up in this legislature, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just make sure that you're always vigilant in contacting your representatives, because I was making sure that I contacted them and my quote unquote wife contacted them too. So with the same message that I typed.
Exact same wording.
Yep. But anyways, so then Brent W, he wrote in and says, "Hey guys, I don't give a crap about your contest." Well, he's not going to get entered for that.
Why are you even mentioning him? We don't even like him now.
He says, "But I just wanted to let everyone know that I sent an email to Tom Gresham and forwarded him to the episode that describes what went on with Housekeeper and his bird. I asked him to contact Mark and let him tell a story on a national show with the huge reach about how to handle a situation like what happened with Mark. I don't think Mark could have handled that situation any better."
Well, Mark, you know Tom, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Actually, Tom's a great guy. Honestly, he's just a solid individual. We have a familiarity with one another. We know, like I say, hey, it's Mark from Utah. And then, it's like, great, but we're not close friends or anything, but we have spoken on a few occasions. And I just really appreciate everybody with their comments and feedback. A real quick update. The person who is being charged with this litany of crimes is actually right now sitting in jail for assault that happened 2 days after the other incident.
Oh, this guy's
So,
screwed.
Yeah, this guy is so screwed. So apparently,
he does need to lose his gun rights. It sounds like
the district attorney is way pissed, and he said, he can make whatever deal he wants, and then right after that, we're going to hand him the papers right then. So
nice.
So it's like the 1-2 punch.
Well, it sounds like if this guy is already kind of hot-headed, that you're lucky things didn't go worse than they did.
I look at that in retrospect, and I'm glad again that things did not go any more sideways.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Keep us updated on the progress of how the
I will,
case goes.
and thank you again for the feedback. Everybody out there is just amazing, and our listeners too.
Yeah. All right. So we got another one from our favorite Chris P. And he says, mag holder mama is a good one. Another idea that I had was Shamay me the candy.
I love that.
So,
okay.
All right. Yeah.
So if you're not following that, mag holder mama's name is Shamay.
Yeah.
Shamey.
Shamay the candy. that is pretty good, I have to admit.
Yeah. Good one, Chris. Good one, Chris P. So
let's let mag holder mama get through, and then we can switch it up with Shamay the candy.
Yep. We may do that. Thank you.
That's great.
All right. And then Stephen S. writes in and he says, Mark, sorry to hear about Ava, but wow, did you get a beautiful, loving quote from your dad?
Yeah.
Episode 82, I have, and he said, episode 82, I have a thing related to the news story. Back when my daughter was 19, she worked at a local mall. Going out at 11:30 one night to her car, somebody ran out from behind the car at her. After she unloaded her pepper spray and kicked him in the head 2 to 3 times, she realized it was a friend of hers back from basic training that wanted to surprise her.
Well,
very lucky. Wow. All she had was pepper spray.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That comes after our little news thing with the misfire award, where the guy got shot for pulling a prank with a meat cleaver.
Yeah.
He had a butcher knife and he was running at a place.
A group of people coming out of a
So
and I think it was in Texas, which you don't want to probably do.
It was.
Yeah. So you know what we're
you
talking
don't do
about.
that. So I saw it. I followed it a little bit. I was like, okay, well, there's one dumbass that learned his lesson. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah. So, okay, we got another one, and this one is from Morgan G. It has been several weeks since I have been able to catch up with the podcast. I recall one of the last episodes I heard Taco was working with someone to chamber and fire 358 projectiles in a custom bore of something similar to the 350 Legend. I have spoken with a company, MOS Tech. I saw them on Instagram, of all places. Although they do not list this 358 Legend on their site, I think they do something similar. They offer the original chambering in a 1:16 twist and a 1:10 twist. Is there any drawback in shooting 9mm projectiles, 0.355, through the 0.358 bore? And he says, I understand the 1:10 is for heavier, longer bullets, but is there also a drawback in shooting shelf ammo through the 1:10? It is cool to have questions read on the podcast, but if it doesn't fit the, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Thanks for the great content, Morgan G. So to answer some of these questions, it is always not as ideal of a situation to shoot undersized bullets in a gun. And
that is if they
bounce down the barrel.
Yeah. So
and that is if they are actually undersized, right?
Yeah, he's talking about shooting 355 projectiles through a 358 bore.
Do you think his 358 bore is 358, or is there a possibility that lands and grooves are some other number than 358?
Yeah. So just a quick thing on the 350 Legend. The 350 Legend uses like smaller bullets. It uses like 350, 354, 355. So obviously wouldn't want to shoot the bigger bullets in the smaller bore, but you also don't want to shoot the smaller bullets in the bigger bore. You want to shoot bullets that are matched to your bore. And if you're shooting cast bullets, you generally size them larger than the bore diameter by, at least 1,000th or like 2,000ths so that it seals up good. Accuracy wise, you'll probably have really poor accuracy shooting 355 bullets in a 358 bore. And then twist wise, his question on shooting the, because they make it for the 1 in 10 twist 358 for shooting the larger bullets, subsonic loads, that kind of stuff. If you're shooting cast bullets, so his question is there any problem shooting commercial stuff in the tighter twist? Now, I don't think there's going to be a problem, but usually the twist is matched to the bullet size and velocity. And so if you increase the twist, sometimes you can increase pressures because the bullet can't get out as fast, is what I understand. But you probably have to just test it out.
So
well, Taco,
you're not going to...
Let me ask this as well: is that if it does, even if you do shoot it through that small, or you shoot the smaller bullet through the larger bore, and the question is twist, that bullet, if you put too much spin on it, could still fragment upon coming out as well, can't it?
Yeah, I mean it's not a huge twist difference, like between 1 in 10 and 1 in 16.
Yeah,
and it's not like the 350 Legend is screaming these bullets out real fast either. So,
okay.
But the bullet diameter, it does matter, and you wouldn't want to shoot the either or. You wouldn't want to shoot the 355 bullets in the 358 and the 358 bullets in the 355. But yeah.
Lee, to your point, I've seen like 2250 velocities and just absolutely turn the bullet into a puff of blue smoke right after
they
the powder.
Yeah.
But that's not likely to happen at 2,400 feet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And part of that too depends on, like velocity. Like the 22-250s are really screaming those little bullets.
Sure.
Out, and the bullets are tiny. And, part of it too depends on the jacket thickness, all that stuff. But with a 1 in 10 and 1 in 16 for the velocities of a 350 Legend, I don't think it would be too bad, But that's just my opinion. Not legal advice.
Try it and let us know what happens.
Yeah.
Please take all safety precautions.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, and then so you had a last week we had Mark's humor, the dark humor giveaway.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna send somebody some swag, right?
Yes. Okay, so the dark humor winner is Brett B, and he won by 1 minute.
Wow.
Over Andy S. So
explain what the contest was.
Well, now Andy's pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
By 1 minute.
So as far as the dark humor fans out there, I actually ordered the rifle. So they had a Palmetto State Armory, Lee, had a President's Day sale, and they were selling for less than $300 military surplus Carcano Model 91 rifles for President's Day.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah. So anyway,
was it mail order?
Well, I mean, internet.
Oh, so, close enough.
So what I was looking for to complete my hat trick on that is I was looking for a Smith & Wesson Victory pistol to go with it. That would be perfect.
You got the opposing force.
Yep.
So explain to everybody why that is a dark joke, because it went right over my head because I don't know my history.
So basically, Lee Harvey Oswald.
I get it.
Yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald mail ordered a Carcano rifle of that exact model that the Palmetto State Armory was selling on President's Day, and used it, unfortunately, to assassinate JFK. So it was, it's just very odd to me that they would be selling a Carcano Model 91 on President's Day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
dark humor for sure.
I actually ordered it, and including shipping and everything at FFL, it came out to be almost exactly $300.
Wow.
Nice.
Cool.
Wow.
So we'll have to go out and shoot it.
Yeah. You have to get ammo first.
Taco,
you gotta find a
forward me his information so I can get some swag going his way.
Okay. Now, are we going to do the other giveaways real fast?
Let's do the other giveaways real fast.
Okay, we got to blast through these because we're running out.
Because we haven't done anything fast yet.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I have the entries in a spreadsheet with a number. So we are using a random number generator.
Were there any new entries of significance worth mentioning?
All of them were good, man. All of them.
Okay.
So we're not going to read all those entries.
Maybe we can touch on them at a later show when we talk about your anniversary guns again.
Okay.
Okay, let's just pick some winners.
So I'm using the random number generator. It's 29, which correlates to Timothy R.
Oh.
So he wins the. Now, what order are we doing the prizes? Like, which prize is that?
I don't know. It's just gonna be random. You you just pick the names, get me addresses, and I'll just ship prizes to people.
Okay,
they aren't gonna have any idea what they're gonna get.
Okay, awesome. That's good with me. Okay, so Timothy R. He wins.
You got
number one winner. Okay. All right, and how many packages were there?
I think was there 5?
I think there's 5. So
yeah.
If there were only 4, then you're gonna have to give someone a free holster.
I'll just come get something out of your safe.
Yeah,
we'll ship them a Carcano.
Something like that. Carcano. Okay. All right.
Throw some knuckles in.
Hey, there you go.
Okay, winner number 2 is number 11, which correlates to Nate W. So we'll send out an email to you guys, the winners, so that you can respond with your shipping information.
Yeah.
So Nate W wins. All right. Okay, winner number 3.
Number 3.
Okay, that is number 1, which is David B. And so I will.
That sounded suspicious. Number 1.
Number 1.
I think your random number generator is fixed.
Well, we got 11, 1, and 29 so far. Okay.
Don't steal the giveaway, Taco. People will protest.
All right. Next one is number 32. That's Stephen S. Now, I wonder if some of these have like same names as other people, but that's why we'll have to email the people there.
Yeah.
So there's 4 Stephen S's out there.
Yeah, they're all like, yes, I won. Okay. All right. And then we're picking winner number 5, right?
Yes.
Okay. Last winner is 23, and that's James S. or Jamie in Pennsylvania.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay. We'll get some stuff on the way to those people after we get your information.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for playing. Taco's got lots of potential anniversary guns to look at now.
Yes. A lot of good ideas. So
Carcanos.
Carcanos. Matching Carcanos.
There you go.
I'm going to suggest we skip our news story and just jump into our topic.
That sounds good.
Any complaints?
Good.
Okay.
I concur.
So our topic today, we decided to touch on some prepping stuff again. I love talking about prepping, and we have Lee on because he is living through the winter wonderland that is Central Texas.
The worst snowstorm that has hit us in probably about 100 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I think any of us that aren't in Texas are kind of watching from a distance and seeing,
Sure.
I'm seeing, we saw that huge wreck on the freeway.
Yep.
Was
in Fort
horrifying.
Worth. Yeah.
I've heard stories of people sitting in their cars with them idling in front of their homes because that's the only way they can keep warm.
Yeah.
And there's probably a million other things. And so having, talked with Lee a little bit about business and doing some custom knuckle dusters in that, I thought I'm going to see if Lee will come on and see how he's doing. And you've had a bit of a rough go of it as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and as my wife and I have discussed it, it's really been more of an inconvenience than a rough go of things.
Yeah.
We went without power and water for about 2.5 days. Well, water even longer. We just got water back yesterday. We're under a boil water notice for at least the next week.
Okay.
But it's really been more of an inconvenience compared to a lot of other people.
Yeah. So what did you guys do in your house for water? I assume you had some water stored so that you didn't go dry.
Right. Well, to be honest, I was not expecting the water to be an issue. Power, yes. Heat, yes.
So what affected the water system? So where you
So what happened early on was, well, of course, I'm sure y'all are hearing the stories about the Texas grid just being overwhelmed. There's a lot of issues just on that front that I won't go into. But what happened locally to a lot of the water treatment plants is that they lost power, and when they lost power, they lost pressure. And what happens when that happens, the system has to they have to try to backflush everything. And when they do that, it allows the potential for bacterial solutions and things like that. So they were trying to hold off on doing that for as long as possible, which compounded the problem, unfortunately, in this case, because when they lost power, they lost a lot of other systems along with it. So, and then it's kind of one of those things that once you kind of have that cascade effect, it takes it that much longer to bring things back online then.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that happened to just about every water system, I'm going to say within 100-mile radius of us.
So
everybody's on this. Everybody's got problems.
Yeah. So you don't have drinking water. You don't have water to clean with. You don't have water to flush toilets, all that kind of stuff.
You don't have water coming out of the faucet.
Okay. So your toilets are still functioning?
Well, no. I mean, we didn't have water supply at all. But so at the time that we had no water is really nothing that was being provided to us. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So as far as to answer your question, yeah, we still had water to drink. Yes, we still had water for toilets. And you have to think outside the box on some of these things sometimes, especially for those that aren't used to snow and ice. On a very irregular basis. Fortunately, we had plenty of drinking water. We always have a couple of flats of bottled water here, and really they're backup as much as anything. My kids have sporting activities that we provide refreshments for. As I was telling Taco earlier, I'm a club manager for a 4-H shooting group, so we always have events that we have to do. So we always have things on hand,
right?
Cokes and water and chips and things like that. Well, fortunately, because of this past year, I've actually had an abundance of stuff because we haven't been going to a lot of tournaments. We haven't been doing a lot of stuff. So we actually had an abundance of bottled water and things like that we just had. And it really did kind of come down to fortune this time that we had all that stuff.
Yeah.
But when it came to, flushing the toilet, the toilets will still work as long as you have water to flush them down.
Yeah.
So,
fill the tank, you're good to go.
Right. So at that point, then I've got, all my buckets that I use for reloading and things like that. I went out and started collecting snow and melting snow water for toilets.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I was going to ask if that was a route that you went.
Yeah. So, which comes back around to, I guess being prepared for this in some ways. My wife and I have already discussed this. We were actually better prepared for a lot of it than most people were.
Yeah.
Strictly by being fortunate in our circumstances in that regard. Other things we did actually take steps to prepare for this. And saying that are there things that we could do better? Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm already starting to kind of go back and revise how I look at some of these things now and in preparing for the next eventual, whatever that's going to happen.
Yeah. So I want to hear about that when we wrap up the topic of what you are going to do to be better prepared in the future.
Sure.
But a couple of other things. So you lost all heat.
Yep.
But you have a fireplace or a wood burning stove?
We have a fireplace. We use it mainly we don't use it primarily for heat. It's a supplemental thing. We like to have a fire every so often, but
sure.
The week before this happened, I actually had went out and bought, more than a quarter cord of firewood I was like, okay, I'm going to have firewood if nothing else.
Yeah.
And
how has that worked for you?
It actually worked out very well.
Yeah,
good. The guy that I bought my wood, I called the guy that I bought wood from, I guess on Tuesday, because we were starting to get kind of low. It's like, okay, we're going through stuff here. I said, hey, do you have any more wood? I'm almost willing to venture out for it. And he's like, no. He sold 40 cords of wood in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Which is a lot of wood.
Yeah, it is. That is a lot of wood.
That's a lot of wood. But we got through it. We made it, as far as firewood goes, we made it by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
And this kind of cold and the length that it stayed is pretty unprecedented for us. So I thought I had it covered pretty well, not knowing that we were really going to be into the freeze for that long.
Yeah. I think one thing people don't really consider when you lose power, I got a gas heater or whatever.
Right.
But guess what?
Still takes electricity.
It's not going to turn on without electricity, and those fans aren't going to blow without electricity.
The thermostat's electrical, and the fans are electrical. So right. Yeah, you got to deal with that.
So how many people do you have living in your home right now?
It's 4 of us, me and the 2 kids, me, the wife, and 2 kids.
Okay. So with kind of a central heated location, were you guys sleeping in the room where the fireplace is, or did it heat enough that you didn't have to?
We didn't really have to. It got down to, I think, around 48 in the house, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it's not unbearable.
Yeah.
My wife is a quilter, so we have lots of quilts in the house too.
Cool.
So and fortunately, we actually went upstairs to check the kids' rooms. They're in their teens, so they can kind of handle themselves as far as what they feel like they need.
Right.
But we're checking up on them, and it was actually because of the fireplace and they're upstairs in the house. It's actually warmer up there.
Yeah.
So that actually worked out pretty. I just had to tell them, I was like, look, y'all need to sleep with your doors open as opposed to closed like you normally do, just to allow the heat to come in and that sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, otherwise, I mean, it got cool in the house, but like I said, we got quilts, we got a fireplace, a couple of dogs. That helps.
Nice.
So I got a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
You've got so how many days before you felt like, oh, we're all good now, everything's going to be fine, from the time that the snow started or you had your first interruption until it was basically okay again? Or
so
is it even?
Let's see. Yeah, it's getting back. Of course, people are still freaking out right now because, in my own words, a lot of people don't think for themselves and don't rely upon themselves. And I'm not saying that I'm better at it than anybody else, but we definitely try to do more for ourselves than just relying on others to come fix it for us.
Right.
But so to answer your question, Mark, I would say that we got our first freeze last Thursday night. And I told the guys at the shop, I said, hey, if it's going to ice over like this, there's no point in us coming out the shop because they got to travel. I got to travel. We're just going to shut down Friday and see how it fares. Well, then it got bad. From Thursday night, it probably wasn't until Wednesday evening, this past Wednesday, that I felt, okay, we're out of the woods now.
So that's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Most disaster kind of, podcasts and prepping and all that kind of stuff that I hear is that it seems to take almost about a week for the big wheels to kind of fall off.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys were close to that point.
Unless you just moved here from the north and have tire chains and know how to drive in this stuff, you weren't going anywhere.
Right.
And even if you did have chains and knew how to drive in it, you're also dealing with, in a lot of places, we had up to an inch of ice on the roads. You can't drive on ice.
Right.
So the stores were closed. They weren't getting resupplied. And, so there are people here literally running out of food, running out of diapers, things like that.
Well, and there's going to be associated things too. There's, people that live every day with, potentially life-threatening conditions. They need medication. They need access to transportation sometimes to go to dialysis, to go, get, their medication, whatever. And that is not an easy thing. And what I wonder about is, like Jason mentioned when we were talking earlier in the day, this isn't something that's happened, like you said, in the last 100 years. So do you plan for this, or do you plan for like 2 days, or do you plan for 2 weeks, or, how is this gonna? What's the right answer given what you've been through in the last week?
Yeah, so I would say that that's going to have to be, everyone's going to have to base that on their own situations, where they live, what to expect, how long they could think they might expect a problem to happen. And it's kind of going back to Houston when Hurricane Harvey hit a couple of years ago. It nailed them, just flat out nailed them. And so people weren't prepared for that initially. And then they weren't prepared for the aftermath of that. And I have to start looking at things not for the event itself now, but for the aftermath of it. So right now things are back on track. Stores are getting restocked. But what would happen if something even more catastrophic happened, let's say with the power grid, and it wasn't coming back for more than a week? Even if the stores were getting restocked to some degree, they don't have any way of keeping a lot of things at that point. Canned goods, right. Sure, but fresh foods and frozen foods not happening. So we're starting to look at things a little bit more. I would say for us, we're going to start looking at things more on the 2-week basis now. If we don't have a means or the resources are available to us to get to a store or whatever like that for 2 weeks, I want to start keeping an eye on what we need to sustain, what I need to help sustain my family in that time period.
That's, it sounds like an excellent idea. Do you have you are a person who's into guns, who you're kind of, self-made man and all that kind of stuff. So you're probably more independent than maybe the average.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So, it just occurs to me that, this was maybe serious, and there may have been lives lost that we don't even hear about yet.
There have been some lives lost that they're just now starting to come to light. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. We've when we had power come back on and the internet became available, all of a sudden we're getting all these floods of messages and local Facebook groups and things like that, where people are essentially begging for food because they haven't had anything for a couple of 3 days now.
Wow.
Where several of us live is in Utah, and Utah is kind of known for having a bunch of Mormons, and Mormons are kind of
are prepped,
kind of preppers, just by their kind of nature. And did you find in your area specifically, you're different than a lot of the rest of Texas? You're in Austin, which, like you said earlier, is a different culture than Midland or El Paso or Houston or whatever. Do you think it's going to be
even more rural areas? Yeah.
Right. So is it uniformly? Is everybody across the state having this problem, or is it just the blue spots?
No. So I mean, this is a statewide issue, really. Day before yesterday, Del Rio, which is down on the Mexican border, had an additional 12 inches of snow.
Holy moly.
This doesn't happen.
It is the end of the world.
It kind of sort of is for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
But, like the temperatures got up in the 60s today. It's thawing out real fast.
Oh, wow.
So
is there worry of flooding now if it's going to melt that fast?
No, it's just a sloppy mess right now. And I'm sure you're familiar when y'all thaw out from things, how nasty it gets.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, I was going to say, one of the things that, people might look at, you're talking about 2 weeks of, food or preparations, you start small. If for the listeners, if you don't have anything, start with a 24-hour kit or, survival
3 days,
bag,
something.
And then once you got your 24 hours, get 3 days. And then after you have 3 days, go to a week, and then, then go to 2 weeks, but start small and build it up, and, because anything is better than nothing.
Sure. And Taco, that's a great point to start off with, because this has been an ongoing thing for me and my family for, I would say, almost to a decade now, of just, and it's honestly, a lot of times it's one item. One thing that I thought, I'd never thought I would use. I've got one of those little hand cranked radio chargers. It's a radio and it charges cell phones and things. And you it's just got a built-in generator that you crank by hand. I bought this thing 10 years ago. I've never used it. Well, guess what? I used it this past week. And I had to go kind of scrounge it out of my closet, but there it was. I'm like, hey, I'm going to pull it out and use it. And we were at least able to get some radio updates on weather and what's going on and some things like that.
Nice.
And I think you can pick one of those up for maybe $20-$25.
One question that I had, how did you guys cook? Do you have gas stove or is it electric?
Well, so we're this is another way that we just were real fortuitous at all this. About 6 months ago, my wife decided she really hated the electric cooktop that we had.
Yeah.
And we bought a gas cooktop. We had a gas spot for it. And it's like, well, sure, let's go get one. We got it. Well, that's what we cooked with. Well, I also have a gas grill, for barbecue and things like that.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we definitely had means to cook with.
Good.
And boil water and some things like that.
Yeah.
I also, being that I'm I have a welding business. I have portable welders that have built-in generators. I didn't have to go get one, but that was real close to it at one point. Would it have been convenient to go get one of those so that we can plug a couple of things here at the house? Yeah. And next time I would probably go ahead and just have one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as storing food, refrigerated foods, I stuck a few things out in the snow.
Yeah, I was going to say, stick it on the back porch.
I was going to say, I heard of several people, like, since the power was gone, then they let their food spoil.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, it's cold outside. Take it outside.
The outside is the refrigerator now.
Yeah, Utahns know that.
Yeah.
Well, but people here don't.
Yeah.
But it's a common sense thing that if you have a bucket full of ice outside sitting on the patio, you might want to go stick the milk in it to keep it from spoiling.
Yep.
And Jason, that's kind of what I was saying these days. It seems like common sense is not as common as it used to be, unfortunately.
I don't think it is ever really as common as we want to think it is.
Well, but here's the thing, and I sometimes wonder if I've been born too late if I should have been born 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Just the way to think about things that, I'm not waiting for somebody to come fix my problem for me. If anybody listening to this comes away with it from that perspective, they're already a step ahead of the person next to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, because guess what? Yeah. Nobody's coming to fix your problem in a situation like you're in.
Well, and by the time that somebody in government or something like that does come around to fix it for you, you're already suffering.
Yeah.
They can't respond fast enough to enough people.
Let's talk about, I want to kick around some ideas for some alternative ways of maybe cooking, heating, and stuff like that, you guys sound like you fared pretty well.
Yeah, we really did.
You could think on your feet and could figure stuff out. But there are people out there who can't so much. And I was talking with my cousin was in my shop the other day, and we were talking about stuff, and I was telling him, actually he was in my shop when you called me. That's why we were talking about it. And one of the things we're talking about alternative ways to keep warm in a situation like that where you have no power and everything. He's like, go move into your camper.
Yeah.
And I went, I would have never thought of that, probably because I don't have one and I never have. But that makes perfect sense. It's already set up to heat and cook and do everything else. And it's a smaller space, so it's going to heat up easier. So, yeah. But I wonder if there are people out there that had a resource like that and didn't even think to use it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned campers, because a couple of folks that I know who have campers, that's exactly what they did.
Oh, good.
They had the propane. They didn't have to go out and hunt for the fuel they already had. And that, Taco, that was one of the things I wanted to mention to you as well, is that, you're talking about taking small steps initially. One of the very first things that I did was go make sure that all the vehicles were filled up.
Yeah.
Whether we needed to get out or use them as a heating, charging source, things like that. At least I have the fuel on hand. I had propane bottles ready to go. Did I think we were going to lose power? No. I was worried more about frozen pipes than anything. So I prepped, I made sure to prepare all house pipes and we were running faucets where we needed to and things like that. But I wasn't thinking in terms of losing power and water for multiple days. So if you can't, in regards to that, Jason, going back to, if you can find an alternate, let's call it facility, I told my wife that if we had to, we could get out to my shop where I know that I've got generator power, I've got fuel. I can rig up the office area so that it has power at any given time. I've actually got the means to cook some things out there via forges and a couple other items, but
welding torch makes a good grilled cheese.
Hey, I have cooked with a torch before. So yeah, there's ways to get around some of that,
right?
And that's not available to everybody.
Yeah,
and I understand that. But I would say is what some people need to do if they don't have some of their own personal resources is that they need to talk to their friends. They need to talk to their family. They need to say, hey, if something like this were to come around, do we have a pool of resources then?
Yep.
That where we can rely on each other and help each other out, which is what communities did forever before this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I talked to, I've got a couple of cousins that live close to here, and my aunt and uncles, and unfortunately my parents have moved out away from here, so they're not easy to get to. But we talked to say, hey, what if we needed to do? Can we get together and do some of these things? And so, and granted, some of this was a little bit as we're already into the situation. But, in fact, there was a time where we had very limited cell phone usage. A lot of the towers were having issues. So, if you can have those plans or even just a loose thought of these plans already kind of fomented, then that would definitely help in the next go round.
Yeah. Jason, I was going to say, you had mentioned alternative sources for cooking.
Yeah.
And a couple of them that I have is like Lee, having a little bit extra propane is really good to have because you got your grill, camp stoves. And then if you don't have that, you can always do one of those cheap little alcohol stoves. And you can cook quite a bit and generate quite a bit of heat for cooking with those. And in addition to those, I have this cool little rocket stove, and you can burn very little wood in a rocket stove, and it makes a great cooking stove.
Yeah, I just picked up a firebox stove. Same concept. You burn wood or whatever in it, very tiny but super efficient. Yeah.
So I'm gonna take y'all back a little bit even more than that though, because this is something that came up. If we didn't have any gas, what we would do? And I said, look, I actually have Dutch ovens.
Yep.
So we still have a fireplace. I've got a couple Dutch ovens. We can cook stuff.
Yep, we've got Dutch ovens. We cook on cast iron on the stovetop almost. That's all we use practically. So yeah.
So Lee, you mentioned something that is kind of a little nugget for maybe some of the millennials that are listening. And we love our millennials, but you talked about prepping the faucets in the house.
Yeah.
So, having grown up in an area where it didn't freeze hard often, but occasionally it did, that's kind of a big deal. So how do you prep your house? And obviously there was a problem this time because the water stopped, but how do you prep that? And this will be like the free giveaway this week.
So yeah. Well, and to that regard, you have to identify what water lines are running on exterior walls.
Right.
You need to, if you have any hose bibs on the outside of the house, faucets on the outside of the house, you need to know where those water lines are coming from.
Yep.
Where they're running from. And that's going to help you plan accordingly how to protect that. Now, unfortunately, I only have two hose bibs on the outside of the house. So I just made sure to, you get one of the little foam covers that goes over the faucet, but I actually come back and pack it with pink insulation that I usually have laying around somewhere.
Cool.
And, I pack it with that and then cover it. And that keeps it, and one of those lines runs along, it's an exterior wall, but it should be getting enough heat from the interior of the house to kill, have an issue.
Yep.
Now, when we lose power and lose heat, that is an issue then.
Yep, it is.
And there's really nothing you can do about it at that point.
Well, when I was a kid, actually, we lived in the high desert in California, and we had a few times where we had sub-zero kind of situations. Yeah. And what my father would do is go basically identify the farthest away faucet that passed almost everything else and just crack that faucet open a little bit. So you've got running water through that entire pipe that's going through your entire house from the street up to your house, through your house, and down the drain in the back sink somewhere. And that protects that pipe.
Right. To a point. And that's one thing that Mark, that we did as well here, is that like for our kids' bathrooms upstairs, both of their bathrooms are on exterior walls where the pipes are running through.
Right.
So I definitely made sure to have those faucets dripping, and not dripping even, but actually running constantly running about a pencil lead thin stream.
Exactly.
Yeah. You want it not dripping. Yeah. You want it running.
Right. Yep. And enough, to that point, enough to keep it from freezing.
Right. And so because the water heater for their bathrooms is in the attic upstairs, so I needed to doubly protect that system to keep that water running through. And I tell them, we had to crack both hot water and cold water to make sure that both those lines were running to not freeze up.
So it's an interesting mental little game for prepping. You can take a high level view, or you can go out and get the blueprints to your house and figure out which faucet you need to keep trickling. So.
Sure. But I do this, I have to do the same thing for my shop because it's out in the country, it's out in a rural area. And, I basically have to shut off the main at the road for the my building is about, it's more than a quarter mile from the main road. So I have to turn the main off. I have a shut off there at the building, and then I have a shut off at the road. And I shut it off at the road, and then I drain those lines in the shop.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that I have nothing in them at that point.
And nothing to freeze, nothing to break.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
One other thing I want to touch on real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap things up, and you can tell us kind of what you've learned and what you're going to change for the future. But with water purification, obviously, like you said, you can boil water. That's a surefire thing, but especially in a wintertime situation like you're in, where you have no heat, you're using up a resource to boil that water that you may need down the road for heat and stuff like that. And so another alternative, one that we keep on hand at our house, are water filters that will filter out viruses as well as all the other stuff.
I'm gonna walk to my closet right now. I'm gonna go dark here for a second.
Okay.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I'm grabbing one right now. If you see this,
okay.
Let's see here. It's a life straw.
Yeah. Yep.
My wife. It was an Amazon deal here a couple of weeks ago. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
And we bought one for everybody in the house.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. I use life straws.
Yeah, I think they're like $9 or $10 each.
Yeah, they're cheap. So there's other methods also. So I've got a couple of those. I've got a couple hand pump filters, squeeze filters, but I also have a bigger one made by Katadyn, which is kind of the Cadillac of water filters, especially when you're going to like third world places. But this thing, I have a big one that uses gravity that will filter like 30 gallons an hour or something like that, just by using gravity. And so I've never used it because I'm kind of it's sitting there waiting for a situation like this where it's I need to filter a lot.
And to that point, there's also systems that will heat that water for you. In other words, it's a solar deal. Now you got to have sun. You got to have sun to have it.
Yeah, it's a solar still, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep, those work great too.
Yeah. I used to take those when I'd go backpacking up in Colorado and stuff, and I had a Katadyn filter, and then I had a little solar shower.
Nice.
Taking a shower, when you're in the mountains, you just set that thing out in the sun all day, and it gets hot.
Yep, we've used solar showers a lot too.
So almost every winter we hear of tragedies happen with families. If they lose heat or whatever, they light up the charcoal grill in the living room and kill themselves with carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
There are safe ways to heat. One of the things that I found really interesting, I've got a heater that runs on diesel fuel. And this thing is actually safe to run indoors, which is shocking.
That is.
But you know, you got to watch the documentation, make darn sure that everything's working great. But this thing is like 170,000 BTUs. It'll heat almost the entire house.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, that's overkill. But you got to have a plan, and you got to not be caught on your heels when you're freezing. And the last thing you're going to do is, you know, start burning newspapers and kill your family.
And to that point, Mark, you know, my wife takes the viewpoint of she always, you know, we always have a certain amount of food in the house. And I mean, I'm not shy. I like to eat. We all like to eat in our family. So, you know, we're not shy about having food in the house, but we always have, you know, we got food in the freezer and stuff like that. You know, I hunt. So I usually try to keep some venison and things like that. So even if we'd lost all power and, you know, I wasn't expecting to come back on in a while, I would make sure that a lot of that stuff in the freezer got cooked. What, you know, I will still have the facilities to do so. And there's ways of preparing that then to last a little bit longer in a situation. You know, but I would say, you know, to telling people just little points, you know, and to make Taco's point too, as far as, you know, starting off small, make sure you got a little bottled water on hand at any given time. Just even if you have 2 gallons of water stored in your pantry or something, you know, if you're by yourself, 2 gallons will last you at least 2 days. You know, if you want to make sure you have enough for everybody in the family, have enough food on hand. Make sure you have, if you can store it efficiently, try to do so. You don't have to buy it all at one chunk. You don't have to go out and buy these MRE systems and things like that. You know, canned food works great, and it's actually really easy to ration at that point too. It's already pre-portioned and things like that. Make sure you have fuel for whatever system you cook with. If it's on a barbecue grill or, you know, like say a camp stove, make sure you got stuff. And I'm not saying that, you know, you have to run out and do it right before something hits. You should these are things that you might want to just have on hand at any given time. You know, you just don't know when some of this stuff is going to hit. You know, we experience tornadoes here. So, you know, same thing could happen, you know, here in a couple of months. We might have a tornado come out and take out some stuff. Who knows?
So what are some of the big takeaways from this that you've learned going into something at least moderately prepared for it? What are you going to change?
And I would say luckily prepared on some things. Yeah.
Sure. What are some of the things that you want to improve on for the next time?
Well, so, you know, back when COVID hit and, you know, everybody was making runs on toilet paper and flour and rice and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't get suckered into that, but it did make me think about, okay, if there is a prolonged run on stuff, including ammunition, you know, just start accumulating things as you can for what you might, you know, granted, you're going to have to look at this on an individual basis, but accumulate all these things as you can, where you can, and just try to think in terms of at least, you know, 5 days.
Yeah.
How can I sustain myself for 5 days with nothing else coming to me?
Yeah. And I would say
you could do that in a college dorm.
Yes, very easily.
Yeah.
And I would say as an end goal, maybe to some degree, 3 weeks is kind of the number. You'd be able to get through most situations inside of 3 weeks.
Well, and this goes then to having your vehicles fueled up and ready to go, and probably having some spare fuel to at least where you might be able to relocate yourself to somewhere where it gets you out of that situation.
For sure.
You know, and I'm not saying that, you know, I am not a dyed in the wool prepper. I am not, you know, I'm just pretty much a regular guy. But as far as trying to think ahead in terms of this sort of thing, this event has definitely opened my eyes somewhat of where I'm lacking a little bit. like I said, we came out pretty well. If you can see something that's going to be happening, if you got a hurricane coming your way, you got one of these big winter storms coming your way, if you know that something is going to happen, you can take the obvious steps at that point to prepare for that. I think what we're talking about now is looking at those unforeseen events that you don't expect to happen, that you don't know are coming. And in that regard, you really need to start looking at ways of not only preparing yourself from a physical standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint. There's a lot of people from a mental standpoint, just in the winter storm here in Texas, that I think are going to be a little bit, for lack of a better term, damaged from this. From a mental health standpoint, because they realize how fragile they are in the system that they live in.
Yeah, it's totally a wake up call for sure. Yeah. And I would tell people, there are certain things that you can see coming, like the storm, like the hurricane and stuff like that. But if you're waiting to see it coming before you go get your preps and stuff like that, that's you're putting yourself in the mix with all the panicked, crazy people.
And that's where things can go. That's where things can go bad real fast.
Yeah. Like you were talking about earlier, when COVID kind of crunched down on everybody and people were panicking and buying toilet paper and water and rice and everything. I remember looking at my wife and I'm like, do we need anything? We'll be all right. We didn't even go out. We didn't even go to the store.
My wife and I had the same conversation. It's like, what do we need? But to that end, we have taken steps now to where we have some bulk supplies stored.
Same with us. We bulked up a little bit on some other things where it was like, okay, it would have been nice to have this when that happened. We were fine without it, but we'll be better with it. So we live and learn as we go on, hopefully. Well, cool. Do you guys have any other questions or anything? Anything else you want to add, Lee?
Not really. I think we kind of covered it. I just want to impress on people, try not to rely on others. God helps those who help themselves. I'm not trying to be glib about that or anything like that, but don't think that the government's going to come to help you in any given situation.
Right. And if they do, it's usually just to clean up the aftermath.
It's too little too late.
Right. Exactly.
I was going to say, you can always use this as an excuse to buy some more camping gear.
Yeah.
My wife is, she knows I have this weakness of late night shopping in bed. And camping gear is like one of my weaknesses. So,
well, what's funny is that I guess I have rubbed off on my wife. I used to be a big camper way back in the, backpacking and hiking and stuff like that. So I had a lot of that stuff for myself. And then my wife, that's never appealed to her. But I have rubbed off her on the fact that she, just as far as looking for those items, like the life straws, it was an Amazon deal she ran across. Said, well, hell, I'm going to grab some of those.
Yeah.
It's little things like that, and we've made little bags for the kids that have some of that stuff for them. And I want them thinking about that. I feel like my job in life is to help prepare my kids to be able to take care of themselves in any given situation.
Yeah.
And, I hope that I can impress on the other folks listening to this podcast that's the sort of mentality they need to have, is that, you need to be able to take care of yourselves before you can take care of anybody else. Take care of you and yours, and everything else from there is a lot easier.
Yeah. And a little bit of preparation goes a long way to give you peace of mind and to keep you out of that panicked population.
And
because those guys are crazy.
Yeah. That's seriously where most of the problems come from, are the people who aren't prepared and are panicking because of it.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of a burden that takes off of you when you realize that you're not in that mix.
Yep.
And you can kind of look at it from the outside going, well, damn good thing I'm not there right now.
Yep, absolutely. Well, cool. That was a long one, guys. I hope we gave people some good information, something to think about. Anybody listening that's got any ideas or stuff that they want to throw out there, maybe some life experience from similar situations, we'd love to hear what you have to say. But I think it's time to sign off and go to bed.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, are they normally this long?
We like to try to keep it about an hour.
Oh wow!
But we have a tendency to go long anyway.
I got you.
And this was a good topic that was super relevant for everybody. And
I hope so.
Talking with you, everything is fresh in your mind because you're just barely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So
yeah, today was the first day that we really got out of the house.
Yeah.
So I ran out and checked on the shop yesterday.
Uh-huh.
The first time my wife had gotten out of the house in over a week.
Wow. Cool.
So, yep.
Well, I'm glad that you guys fared well, and hopefully things will just be getting better for you from here on out. But
yeah. It's all
Thank
good from
you,
here.
Lee. I really enjoyed meeting you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, and you as well.
Okay, well, that's it. Thanks for listening. Share this with your friends so that maybe they'll get more prepared too. And we will see you all next week, maybe.
We will.
Okay.
Well, we won't see you because it's a radio show, and we won't hear you, but you can hear us next week.
All right. Catch you later.
See ya.
Brett, I guess I could say his full name, right? Or should
Sure. Does he have his address and phone number there too?
I'll just email him. Okay.
Got a social?
Yeah. So we'll edit all that. Anyways. 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 Anyways.